Whether it's a psychological or a paranormal show, a well-crafted thriller will have you hooked for weeks. But trying to find a quality thriller series to binge on can be quite the challenge. There's a whole lot of shows out there, but they won't all deliver that nail-biting experience you're desperately looking for. Well, we're here to make that easier for you. In this video, we'll take you through our list of top thriller series out there that you need to be watching. Stick around till number 1. You'll definitely want to watch that one. Let's get started. Number 10. Servant. Servant on Apple TV is a psychological thriller and horror show that features a Philadelphia couple, Dorothy and Sean Turner. The couple hires a nanny named Leanne for their infant son, Jericho. But there's a twist. Their son died 6 months ago, and what Leanne takes care of is a creepy-looking reborn doll. As soon as the babysitter enters their life, strange and frightening events start to take place. The claustrophobic atmosphere and powerful performances build enough tension to keep you hooked. Even when the pace of the show slows down, it still does an amazing job of messing with your head, trying to decipher if what you see is real or not. Servant does an excellent job highlighting the fear that we have towards our own sanity and how a major event can cause frightening consequences to it. Number 9. Stranger Things. The Netflix mega hit set in the 1980s follows the disappearance of Will Byers and its connection back to a government lab's experiments with a portal that leads to the Upside Down, a dimension full of monsters named Demogorgons. Will's friends team up with a strange girl named Eleven, played by Millie Bobby Brown, to rescue him, but in doing so, they open up their world to the horrors of the Upside Down. Other than the fact that the cast is amazing, with Winona Ryder delivering her best performance yet, the show mixes its brilliant filmmaking design with cultural references of the 80s. Now, what makes this show land on our list weren't the Demogorgons, but instead it's the fact that this show was based on real-life experiments done by the US government. And besides, what could be scarier than an emotional teen having telekinetic powers? Number 8. Lovecraft Country. Following the same plot as the book Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff, the HBO TV adaptation focuses on Atticus, who teams up with his Uncle George and longtime friend Leti to try and find his father across the United States in the 1950s Jim Crow era. What makes Lovecraft Country stand out is the way it brilliantly blends the realistic portrayal of the racial injustice towards Black Americans and the paranormal world. It also helps having standout performances from Jonathan Majors and Journey Smollett. The show is gory and has its monsters, but what will scare you the most will be the realization that despite being set half a century ago, much of what you see play out on the show is relevant to today. Number 7. Bates Motel. Bates Motel is a prequel to Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 film Psycho. It gives an in-depth portrayal of what happened to Norman Bates' mind throughout his teen years. It also delves into the dark and unsettling backstory of the disturbing relationship he shares with his mother, Norma Bates. Vera Farmiga and Freddie Highmore's performances as the mother and son are both memorable. From Highmore's ability to transition from Norman Bates to mother and perfectly imitate Farmiga's mannerisms to Farmiga's transition from the real Norma Bates to the version in her son's head. Many believe that no two actors could have brought justice to the iconic characters like those two. Overall, Bates Motel gives us an enjoyable spin to a horror classic. Number 6. Chernobyl. Chernobyl, the Emmy Award-winning HBO limited series, is based on the real-life event of the 1986 nuclear reactor explosion in the Soviet Union. It focuses on not just the worst man-made disaster of all time, but also how government corruption led to deadly consequences for thousands of people. Even though this limited series is only 5 episodes and not categorized as a horror show, it will certainly leave a terrifying impression. You can also come away with a sense of respect for all those who stepped up and risked their lives to be part of the cleanup. The first 2 episodes are incredibly intense, but also showcase both masterful cinematography and on-screen performances that make you feel the same dread and terror they feel when they hear those damn Geiger counters. Number 5. Hannibal. The name Hannibal Lecter will forever be connected to the great Anthony Hopkins for his portrayal of the character in the films. But what Mads Mikkelsen was able to bring to the infamous killer in the show is horrifying in its own right. The infamous Dr. Lecter is known for his manipulation tactics, and Mikkelsen's ability to combine that with a terrifying stoic demeanor will be sure to give you goosebumps. Whether it be his cold demeanor, brutality, or the fact that he made FBI agents unknowingly eat his victims, this show reminds us why the name Hannibal Lecter should continue to bring fear. Number 4. American Horror Story. It would be foolish to make a countdown list for horror shows and not mention American Horror Story, arguably one of the greatest anthology series. What makes American Horror Story a main mainstay in the horror genre is the ability of the main cast of Sarah Paulson, Kathy Bates, Jessica Lange, and Evan Peters to brilliantly perform a different twisted character every season and never have a drop-off in the acting. Whether it be the sadistic killer Twisty the Clown in Freak Show or cult leader Kai Anderson, there is bound to be a season for everyone to binge watch. Many fans can agree that either Coven, which had a powerhouse performance from Angela Bassett, or Asylum as being the two best seasons of the series. Number 3. The Haunting of Hill House. The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix follows a family of 5 siblings and their struggles with the horrific trauma they received as children from living in a house haunted by spirits. We see how even as adults, the experiences they all had in Hill House not only tore their family apart, but also continued to destroy their lives, especially the youngest twins Luke and Nell. At its core, this show is much more than an over-the-top ghost story, which is common in the horror genre, and instead uses its ghosts to bring a constant feeling of dread and misery to the atmosphere. The Haunting of Hill House does use the typical jump scare trope, but it is used in a way that will have a lasting effect on you. Don't expect this show to have a happy ending. Instead, prepare to be astonished by the curveball the writers throw in the season finale. Number 2. The Exorcist. A direct sequel to the notorious 1973 film, the TV adaptation of The Exorcist tackles the story of a family possessed by demonic forces. Two polar opposite priests come to help the family. One is a progressive Catholic priest who runs a small parish outside of Chicago, and the other is a brash priest from Mexico City who's been trained to fight demonic evil since his childhood. When the original film was released, many were left traumatized by not just the premise of the movie, but also because of the horrifying demonic face of the possessed child. When it comes to the horror genre, especially with demonic possession, the balancing act of making it look realistic while horrifying is difficult. However, The Exorcist excels at it so much so that it will have you quickly turning on the lights to watch. We'll be honest, a series inspired by the original film did not sound like a great idea at first, but the end result was definitely worth it. Number 1. Evil. Evil on CBS and Netflix teams up David, a priest in training, and Kristen, a skeptical psychologist, on a mission to deduce whether or not certain events are paranormal. Joining them is a contractor named Ben who tries to bring some scientific reasoning to the cases. In most of the cases, there's usually a rational explanation for what is happening, but even then, you will be left with the doubt that the supernatural couldn't have played a part in it. What makes this show so brilliant is the writing of Michelle and Robert King and how they managed to combine the supernatural with the medical and judicial system. With only 13 episodes, Evil is fast-paced with no episode wasted. Just a warning, there will be cases, such as episode 4 and episode 9, that will be difficult to watch for some. In every episode, however unsettling, Michelle and Robert King leave behind clues that will leave the viewer mind blown when it all comes together in one of the most chilling season finales in recent times. Evil will have you questioning everyone, from your doctors, friends, and even your own children. That's a wrap for this video. Let us know in the comments what your must-watch thriller series are. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.